Hey everyone, my name is Chris Lambert. On this channel, we talk Kanye West, and the official video for the song 24 just came out 16 minutes ago, 17 minutes ago, and I wanted to make a video going over the visuals of this music video and kind of diving into some of the symbolism, the motifs, the themes, and trying to see what we can discover. If you don't know, we have a movie analysis site called Film Colossus, where Travis and I write the most intense and in-depth analyses, explanations of movie endings and themes. So you can check out what we've written on Prisoners, Perfect Blue, Black Swan, Nocturnal Animals, all sorts of movies. But before we were doing critical commentary on Kanye, we've been doing critical analysis of film. So this is right in my wheelhouse. So we start with footage from the second listening party in Atlanta, and specifically the moment right before Kanye ascends, right? Which we don't talk about who's actually in the harness, but you have Kanye ascending, which was the dramatic finale of the song, right? Of the show. No Child Left Behind plays. Kanye goes lifting up into the heavens. You get this amazing visual of him going really, really high up in Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And it was cool in the moment. And that's when the live stream kind of ended, was with this. And we're like, neat. But then at Chicago Listening Party 3, we saw these visuals first appear. We didn't know it was going to be the official music video for 24, but now we do. So you can see how it goes from this grounded in reality example of Kanye starting to ascend to something that is much more digital, of course. That's not really a person. It's a CGI of a Kanye figure in this void. So we've gone from the actual physical world to something digital and computer generated, which actually, like, you might think is, well, how else are they going to represent it? It actually ties into the very end of the music video, where we see this kind of simulation of environments of the clouds that Kanye had been floating in, and they vanish into the sky. So they kind of just collapse in on themselves, and we're left with the physical world that we started in. So it starts on the ground and it ends in the sky, which is cool. But in the midst of it, you're in this simulated world. And it seems to be getting into a simulation of the spiritual world, of heaven, of something that you don't really get to experience or see when you're in the world that most of us exist in on the day-to-day. But you have these moments of ascending into the spirit world where you get a glimpse of God, of heaven, of grace, which is very fascinating. And here you can see this circle, which kind of mimics this fisheye circle that Kanye has been using ever since the Jesus is King performance at Lollapalooza. Is that what it is? Not Lollapalooza, Coachella. He used this circular view, and it seemed to have some biblical implications at the time. You could make the argument that it's kind of like the eye of God watching, but here it feels very much like a moon. And we know that one of the songs right after 24 is Moon, or right before 24 is Moon. In that area of the album is Moon. So the fact that you have what looks to be outer space or this void with a circle here that feels very moon-like, but actually contains this realm that seems to represent heaven, even though it's just the sky, because it's the implications of the sky and clouds and the image of Donda that's in this sphere. You start to get more of an idea of heaven or memory or something that's just outside our usual concept of reality. And this is the thing that Kanye has ascended near, right? So he goes floating up to it and then suddenly finds himself in another version of this sphere, maybe even the same exact one, right? You can see the blue sky, the clouds, the sunlight, and he continues to ascend and just float in this terrain. And you get this brilliant visuals as Kanye flies through and flies around. And you can see he's at peace. The light, you can imagine, feels very warm and refreshing. There's not this fear of falling. You're actually getting to experience this sense of freedom. And that idea of freedom is a big part of Donda, the album. You look at the very first formal song and it's jail, right? Like a song called Jail. And then the last lines we hear Kanye say on the album as a verse, right, comes from Come to Life. And he says, when I'm free, I'm free. So you have that juxtaposition of the first song talking about jail and the last lyrical moments of the album saying, when I'm free, I'm free. So it really does feel like over the course of the album, Kanye goes from a state of jail to a state of freedom. And part of that journey is God taking control of his life, which you see on the song Remote Control, which actually follows 24 on the album. The first part of Remote Control is Kanye having the remote control and doing very frivolous things. And then midway through that song, God takes control. And then we know that on Lord, I Need You, Kanye says that he's giving up doing things his way and that he's just going to let God guide him. So it's a running motif of the album is Kanye kind of letting go in some ways and finding freedom through God. And now this is not loading. So that's great. I wonder if they're actually taking it down. Oh, no. Okay. It just had some issues. But there he's floating through the space. And then you can see we go back to the void, right? Back to the void, back to the realm that Donda's at. You can see still the footage of her smiling. And then it cuts back to Kanye in the space that he's in. And then you get this lovely visual of him ascending once more, but then seeing the sun holding out his hands to the lights. And this is when it starts to zoom back finally. And you get this zoom out and you see Kanye in his void, or like space, right? But then that there's actually multiple other like screens that exist. There's this screen that he's in, but there's also this one, there's this one down here, and even some of the clouds that he's looking at were actually part of the world, but were outside of it. So this is why it starts to feel like he's in some kind of simulation. And you can even see that the circle, this eye of God that we talked about, starts to disappear. And by the end of the video, once the eye of God is gone, all the simulation stuff is gone, and we're just left with the world at large. And you're looking down, I guess, from the sky. You'd imagine these are the lights from towns and cities, and these are just some of the clouds, but it's definitely not like the brilliant, beautiful sky that we're seeing. And while a lot of the camera is directed up in these moments, at this point, the camera is directed down. So just a lot of interesting tensions, some interesting contrasts, but it feels like it's getting at some kind of implication of simulation theory specifically, and a collapse of simulation theory with heaven and religion, which is really fascinating because, I mean, simulation theory seems to be something that's very much grounded in like science and non-religious thinking, but here Kanye kind of bridges the implications of simulation theory and the implications of like heaven and God, which, what a Kanye thing to do. And I can't remember if I mentioned already in this video, Wash Us in the Blood, but the Wash Us in the Blood music video that came out in 2020 also made some thrusts at simulation theory, especially with Kanye having this digital mask of his face put over his face throughout the video. You can kind of start to see this idea that people are wearing masks that they shouldn't be wearing, or having a persona put on top of them. And he also shows footage from Grand Theft Auto Online. And he's talked in unreleased songs about like Grand Theft, like life is a simulation, life is a video game, right? So it seems like some of those elements are starting to be explored more fully in things that he's releasing, or it continues to be built up through multiple releases over time as we're seeing Kanye kind of elaborate on this simulation theory and the way that it impacts us. In the Wash Us in the Blood video, it seems to be condemning of society, but here in the 24 video, it seems to be freeing. And that seems to be one of the central tensions that Kanye's kind of exploring right now, is that society and people in general can be very negative energy inducing, where God can be very positive energy inducing. And we see that on Donda as well, when you look at the initial songs like Jail and Off the Grid and Okay Okay and Praise God, that have this antagonism to them, versus the songs at the end of the album, Lord, I Need You, Keep My Spirit Alive, Pure Souls come to life, which are all about renewal and forgiveness and taking responsibility. So, we're just seeing some larger motifs in Kanye's artistic oeuvre. How do you say that word? uh, Discography, artist portfolio come about. So I really like this video. I like what Kanye is doing with it. It feels thought provoking while also being like this cool bridge between explorations of science and religion. So good on Kanye for delivering another top shelf music video. And that is it for this video. If you're enjoying the channel and you want to support us, the easiest way is to like, comment, subscribe, as any of those things tell YouTube this is a channel people like. So then they show it to others, which goes a long way in supporting us. We also have our podcast, Watching the Throne, a lyrical analysis of Kanye West, where we go line by line through Kanye's discography, doing breakdowns, much like we just did here, except you don't have the visual elements. We actually just recorded our Off the Grid episode as we were in the midst of our season on Donda, and it's going to have to be 2 parts because it was over 3 hours. That's right. So you should check out the episodes we've done on Jail, God Breathed, Donda Chants to get a taste of what it is we offer. The rest of the episodes for most of the podcast are available on podcast platforms like Spotify, iTunes, Tidal. We've covered College Dropout, Late Registration, Graduation, 808s and Heartbreak, Yay, Kids See Ghost, and Jesus is King. And as I mentioned earlier, we have our movie analysis site, Film Colossus, if you want more in-depth explanations of movie endings and themes. So until next time, stay wavy and keep it loopy. Cheers.